So, who am I? And why am I preparing these illustrated lectures? Well, my name is Frank B. Salisbury. I have a doctoral degree, and I'm going to present a short history so you'll get to know me. I'm going to talk about some of my credentials, what I've done professionally in my life. I was born in Springville, Utah in 1926, and when I was 9 years old, I decided I wanted to be a scientist. As a teenager, I worked for 4 summers as a counselor at Boy Scout camps. I earned the rank of Eagle Scout, and as part of my advancement, I earned the Botany Merit Badge, which is no longer available. And from then on, I wanted to be a plant scientist, a botanist. But I loved chemistry and biology and physics and astronomy and geology and you name it. I still love all of science. In 1944, I graduated from South High School in Salt Lake City. And then I went into the U.S. Army Air Force right after high school, serving the last year of World War II. After the war, I served as a missionary in Switzerland for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. We're Mormons. Here I'm showing off some book covers that I sewed on a borrowed sewing machine while I was on my mission. I decided to be a plant physiologist who studies how plants function, how they work, because that botanical science includes much biochemistry and several other sciences, even some astronomy. After my mission, I graduated from the University of Utah with bachelor and master's degrees in botany and biochemistry. And then I went to the California Institute of Technology and obtained a PhD in plant physiology and geochemistry. After graduating, I spent a year as an assistant professor at Pomona College in California, filling in for a man who was away on his sabbatical for a year. And then I spent 11 years at Colorado State University before moving to Utah State University, where I spent 31 years. I retired in 1997, served another LDS mission with my wife, this time to Columbus, Ohio. Upon returning, I spent 12 years in Salt Lake City, and there I had an office, was retired, and did a little book writing. My wife passed away in Salt Lake City, and I returned to Logan, Utah, where I have 2 sons. And there, much to my surprise, I met and married a lovely lady, Helene Hancock Coates. And that's where I am now, and it gives me again some time to work on these lectures. Research was a very big, fun part of being a scientist. For my master's degree, I studied how some plants could grow on the Big Rock Candy Mountain in south central Utah. That yellow material is extremely acid. At Caltech, I had studied how plants detect the changes in length of day and night, which is an astronomical question. The plants use the information to form flowers. I continued working on the physiology of flowering for about 20 more years with support from the National Science Foundation. While at Caltech, I wrote a term paper about the possibilities of plant life on Mars. Now I'm really getting into botanical astronomy. And I followed that up by getting interested in unidentified flying objects, UFOs. Thanks to my Mars interests, NASA supported me and my team studying how plants respond to the very low temperatures and to ultraviolet light, which are a part of the Martian environment. Then NASA supported studies on how plants respond to gravity and how we might grow plants on the moon or Mars under controlled conditions, maybe even in a spaceship, to purify the atmosphere, provide water and food for astronauts. Water is provided as the water evaporating from plants is condensed. Finally, I led a project to grow plants, wheat plants, in the Russian space station Mir, and we did it. Matter of fact, we grew bigger and better plants than had ever been grown in space before. A big part of my life was writing books. It was fun, but hard work. There were books, mostly with co-authors, about plants, the flowering process, plant physiology, 4 editions used all over the world. Botany and Ecological Approach, Biology, several co-authors, and a book on units and symbols for plant physiology. In the early 1970s, I wrote a thought-provoking book about UFO sightings in northeastern Utah. The 2nd edition was very recent, just a few years ago. I wrote 2 books about science and religion, mostly for members of my own church, LDS members. And then a book for general readers about evolution and creation. How did my fascination with evolution and religion develop? Well, as a teenager working at those scout camps, I read books by Luther Burbank, which went into detail about evolution. Burbank told how the principles could be used to improve crop plants, and Burbank did indeed improve crop plants with great skill. Early on at the University of Utah, I took a special class on evolution taught by a visiting lady professor. We used 2 books by famous evolutionists, Theodosia Stopchansky, who's a geneticist, and Ernst Mayr, who's an ornithologist. But then almost any class in a biological subject discusses evolution. It's central to understanding of biology. In the late 1940s, we began to understand life's real complexity. By early 1950s, Frederick Sanger announced the final amino acid sequences in the 2 chains of insulin. If a protein enzyme were to work, that showed, its amino acids had to be in the right order, the right sequence, we say. In that sense, life is digital, much like language. If the letters in the language are not in the right order, they make no sense. Well, Sanger won a Nobel Prize for his discovery. Sanger worked out a method to sequence DNA and received a 2nd Nobel Prize in chemistry in 1980. He died near the end of 2013, and a close friend, another Nobel Prize winner, writes the following in Nature. Sanger's impact on biology is as dramatic as that of Charles Darwin. I can really relate to that statement. What we think about how evolution works really now must depend upon our knowledge of the digital nature of life. About the time that Sanger wound up his work, Watson and Crick discovered the structure of DNA, 1953, and that opened whole new vistas for me to wonder about. As discoveries accumulated, it became apparent that life at the molecular level was far more complex than anyone up to that time had ever imagined. For one thing, an intricate and complex cycle moved information, sequence information, from DNA through RNA to protein enzymes, which were responsible for virtually all cell chemistry, including making DNA. And I began to wonder about how that was going to fit in with evolution in the late 1950s. And finally, I prepared an article that was published in the scientific journal Nature in 1969, Natural Selection and Complexity of the Gene. Do we really know how life began and evolved? The media, I think of public broadcasting system, often seems to imply that we do. But while we don't know it all, we probably will discover all the answers before long. Well, do we know enough to say we can account for the complexities of life without an intelligent creator? Do we know enough about the nervous system, and the brain to tell how your brain came about by evolution, arriving at the point where your brain can think about the origin of your brain. No, those questions are definitely still mysteries. So why am I preparing these illustrated lectures? Well, I want to show you that science, especially biology, is a long way from proving there is no God, no creator. By the same token, science cannot prove that there is a creator God. Science can't study the supernatural. So far, I've prepared 3 of these illustrated lectures with much design help from Steve Murdoch. The first one discusses the argument from design all the way up to our modern views of evolution based on random mutations. But Charles Darwin is featured, he and his friends, and I had a bunch of thoughts of my own on the subject. The second one is entitled Getting Life on Earth, and the point is the origin of life is not as simple as some people seem to think. Right now, we haven't the faintest idea of how it really happened. There aren't even any good suggestions. The third one is the big numbers, an unsolved problem of evolutionary biology. And this is where evolutionary theory, if it's going to really be complete, must some way account for the big numbers associated with controlling macromolecules of life, DNA and proteins, RNA. It's those molecular sequences that are important. And incidentally, each lecture takes about 50 minutes, like in a university classroom. Well, I don't deny evolution. There's too much evidence for it. I do wonder about how it worked. And I do leave plenty of room for an intelligent creator. Life's complexity is compatible with an intelligent creation. And if you have good reason, personal, to believe that there is a creator God, and I certainly believe that there are such good reasons, then don't let science in general and evolution in particular change your mind. I'll try to help you along the way. I wish you well in your journey to find understanding about the complexities of life and to find out about the role of God in creation if that's your desire. I'll help you as best I can with these lectures, but only you can make the required effort and then the decisions. I'll try to show that the beauty of life, organisms and cells, is totally compatible with an intelligent creation. Good luck. Enjoy my illustrated lectures, but don't forget the beauty of how life functions. That's the end. Now you know who I am.